to iScreemZ. We're continuing our Women in Horror month. Tonight, I have a very talented writer, director, producer, actor. She's run the spectrum here, you know, the triathlon of kind of working in the film business. She's making a lot of noise actually at the moment. She's getting a lot of acclaim for two fantastic short films. I've seen them both. I can testify they are wonderful. I heavily love one over the other, but they're both amazing. Like they both, you're going to love them both, Earworm and Tea Time. And I'd like to introduce you to Tara Price. How are you doing, Tara, this evening?
Good. Thank you, Stephen, for having me here. This is exciting.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Listen, I know that I say, these are, kind of, because this is Women in Horror Month. So that's why I've kind of really been focusing on these things. But I don't want to sort of pigeonhole you. You do so much more, as a lot of the women I've interviewed do. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how your journey in the film industry, kind of began?
Oh, gosh. I started as an actor. Well,
Yes.
As you mentioned, it's kind of funny. I feel like sort of retired from that. I haven't acted in about 6 years. I don't know. I grew tired of it. And as sometimes people do, it's not a lot of really exciting stuff for women out there, at least in my experience. But that led me to wanting to create my own content. I started writing, producing short films to actually put myself in, quite frankly. And I encourage anyone to do that. If, as an actor, if you can create your own content, do it. Don't sit around and wait for someone else to give you the role that you want, make it. But in my case, it's kind of weird because I enjoyed the process of writing and watching it come to life so much that I did a film called Zombie Island. I did another film called The Routine. I wrote, produced, acted in those two. I had another film I had written, I shouldn't say film, another screenplay I'd written called Collide. I was going to do the same thing, was going to hire a director, was going to act in it. And I shelved it and decided to make a movie called Earworm, which I didn't act in at all. This was my directorial debut. I thought I'm going to give this a shot. I was really nervous. I didn't have a lot of role models, in that field. And I was just nervous, as I'm sure anyone is when they're trying something new. But I surrounded myself with wonderful people, wonderful producer. Everybody was very encouraging. And I friggin' loved it, man. I mean, it was, I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I was really passionate about acting for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like you should continue to do something as long as you have that passion. But if the passion goes, it's okay to find a new passion. And giving this a shot and realizing, oh my God, man, this is amazing. I felt like, wow, I haven't experienced this kind of excitement in a long time, like that passion was sort of reignited in me. And it also is like a weird freedom to not be acting in something and you don't have to worry about all that crap that comes with acting, you're
right.
Shit. And to just be, I don't know, focused on everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's again a nutshell, kind of how it happened for me. Once I did Earworm, I was like, all right, this is what I want to do.
Perfect.
You write stuff, but then you kind of hand it over to someone else to write it and to turn it into your thing. It's just, I don't know. I've heard some people compare it to giving birth. I guess I've not given birth. This is as close as I've come, but I understand that analogy,
Amazing. Spoiler alert for listeners, listen, I love Tea Time. I double love Earworm. But so I've kind of blown that already, but we'll get to that point down the road. You obviously like horror. It's obviously, something you're is it kind of a main focus for you, or where does that come? Like, are you because your resume is so well rounded. You've done so many things, right? But I keep seeing the horror and mysteries popping up in there. Talk to me about that.
I feel like horror is just this genre that I don't even want to call it niche, because it's just it's such a beloved genre. I don't know how to explain it. There's no other genre that has like this weird cult following. I mean, maybe there is. I don't know. In my experience, I feel like horror is something that almost everyone gravitates to at some point in their lives. And as a kid, I gravitated towards it, who hasn't read Stephen King books and whatever, and gravitated towards those kind of movies. I grew up with Creep Show and Tales from the Crypt and all that stuff. And so it influences you as you get older. And I don't consider myself a horror filmmaker per se, but yeah, of course I'm going to make horror films if the opportunity arises. It's fun. It's really fun, especially the ones I've done that have a little element of comedy in there. But my I've done stuff that's more science fiction as well.
Right.
I love a lot of genres, Stephen. I love science fiction. honestly, I want to make a documentary. There's a lot of genres I love, but horror is just this thing that you kind of circle back to all the time because it's fun. What can I say? It's fun.
It's always there. It's always there.
Yeah, right.
And I want to pick up on something else because I noticed that, there's a lot of points. I mentioned this briefly a second ago. I noticed there's a lot of points in your career where mysteries come up. You produced some episodes of The Unexplained with Bill Shatner, right?
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was an associate producer on that. It's not top level. It was that was my day job when I was living in LA. I produced a lot of reality TV, and that was actually the last gig I worked on before coronavirus kind of took everything off the table for me.
Tara, you worked with Captain Kirk. That gives you double bonus points.
Not directly, though. Not directly. To be clear, I didn't actually go in the field on that one. I've been in the field on many shows, but that one I was an office producer, so I didn't get to meet him.
But here's the other thing, and this actually, this is the question I'm really, from a selfish perspective, I'm really excited to ask you because it ties into another of my big passions, and that is UFOs. Alien Highway, you did, was it, you did multiple episodes on that one as well?
Yeah, I did the whole series. Yeah, it was only one season, sadly, but I did the whole thing.
Where do you sit, and listen, say whatever you're comfortable with, straight talk in this room only, tell me to shut up, I don't mind. But where do you sit on the subject of, they used to call them UFOs, now they call them UAP. I think it's unidentified aerial phenomenon. They call them now.
Do they? I don't know this.
Oh yeah, they got renamed. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
A bunch of aliens are now filing legal suits saying, "Hey, we want to be UFOs. You can't change our name without running it by us first." But jokes aside, where do you sit on that subject? Is that something you're passionate about?
That, to be completely honest, I go where I get hired. I wasn't seeking out an alien show, but it was a hell of a lot fun to work on. I was a segment producer on that. I was in the field. So the whole shebang, I was in pre-production and then went out and helped shoot it. So I was at all those locations. And I believe that if you believe in something, that's what's important. I'm not going to tell someone else what to believe. My beliefs are kind of irrelevant. If someone has an experience that they want to share and they really believe that it happened to them, then as far as I'm concerned, it did. Who am I to say, oh, sorry, I don't believe in aliens. There's no way that could happen to you. Well, clearly something happened to you if you had an experience.
Sure.
Who am I to, define what it was?
Yeah. And you know what? That's a valid point, right? I'm going to completely, I'm going to level with you. I'm just a complete UFO nerd. I've studied everything inside. But you know what? I also feel like I got a good filter on what to listen to and what to, push to the side. Mm-hmm. But I saw that and I was like, oh, aliens. Amazing.
It's a fun show. I talk to a lot of people that are UFO nerds, believe me. It was fun. I got to travel to a lot of different states and meet people from different walks of life. And it's such a huge community of people who are really into that stuff. And it really varies, like everything. There's people, like you say, you feel you're more level-headed, and then there's people who might be a little out there. But that's their story too. I think it's all relevant.
Right. That's right. Now, because obviously, Earworm and and Tea Time, or especially Tea Time right now, I know that's really, you're probably really high on that right now because it's really getting so much great buzz and it's fantastic. Loved it.
Thank you.
Really. Before you kind of hit those plateau, like those levels of the mountain climb, what was your proudest moment up to that point?
Up to that point, you know, the very first short film that I wrote and produced a friend of mine by the name of Peter Sobey, he came on board to direct it. And it was actually it was a sketch I'd written for the stage, because I used to do a lot of sketch comedy in LA. And but this never got performed on stage. So I rewrote it. I got together with my friend Peter and I said, I'm thinking of rewriting this for the screen, but I don't know anything about making a short film. He was very experienced. We produced it together. I rewrote the thing, he directed it. And it was the day, we only shot it one day, but it was the day I arrived on set, and I was the first person there. I had to show up and you know, set up the location, like put up signs and make sure everyone knew where the heck they were going and stuff. And it was watching my crew arrive, my crew that I hired, and watching them all arrive one by one. You know, makeup's loading in and hair is loading in and my art department's loading in. They're working on the set. My actors show up, and you know, it was just amazing. My PAs were running around, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, everyone is here because of me, because of this thing I wrote. And it was just so freaking cool. Just this little quiet moment. Like I took all that in and I thought, this is so cool. It's just an idea that was in my head. And now there's a bunch of people here helping me make my idea. And I can't think of anything cooler, except when you finally actually get to see it come to life on the big screen.
Right.
That too. The first time I remember seeing my movie with an audience and hearing the audience react, it's a phenomenal feeling. It really is. Something we don't have right now because of this pandemic.
Because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
You know what, to the best of your ability, put me in that moment. Help me feel what you felt when you were in that room. And like you said, you're sitting in a dark room and you're like, oh my God, this is my creation that everybody's watching right now. What did that feel like?
Just like validation. And which everyone wants that, right? You know, you want to feel like the stuff you're writing, which half the time you think might be crap, you know, you realize, well, everyone believes in this enough to be here, you know, because it's this low budget thing. Not everyone's getting paid. And if they are, it wasn't a lot, you know, it was the first thing I'm doing. And the fact that my friend, who was an experienced producer, was like, yeah, I'd love to direct it. And then they found these wonderfully talented people. Oh my God, so talented. In fact, our wardrobe gal, for example, Janet Tennyson, she has continued to do wardrobe for every single one of my short films, which I just bring her back every time because she blew me away. She brought in, we had no money, and she brought me this just amazing stuff to choose from. And that people will go that extra effort because of their own passion. And it's you know, it's your baby, right? I always tell myself, look, no one's going to be as passionate or as excited about this as I am because it's my baby. But when you see other people putting in that effort, it means so much. It really does. And that's why I want to bring those people back. Like with each project, you get a little more money and you want to pay, you know, and you want to be able to put that money towards the people that you value, who were there for you when you had less, if that makes sense.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Every project is like, I have more money here, come back on board. I can pay you more this time. And because I really want to show those people how much I value them and how much I appreciate that they were there with me in the beginning. You know, I don't know if I really answered your question. I kind of went off.
No, you didn't. Actually, quite the opposite. You took it to a really interesting place because you this is why I do iScreemZ, right? And this is where I can, you know, virtually meet you in the middle, you know, COVID. But, you know, to my mind, the most beautiful art in filmmaking happens in the low budget world. And I was having a conversation with another director about this, Emma Dark. And that was the fact that my easiest example I can give of this is Terminator versus Terminator 2. Terminator 2 had $1 gazillion. So it's a great film. It's a fantastic film. But that first one, what they did with so little money and the imagination kicks in and it's like, how do we get over this hurdle? We don't have the money to show this, you know, whatever, huge whiz bang special effect. And suddenly you've got to put the imagination in the writing and the acting and it all really, I love it. I will always favor low budget over big budget. Not to say there's not great big budget films, but you know, but obviously this brings us to Earworm. Now, I don't want to give any spoilers for the film, so I'm not going to say what it was that appealed to me. Well, but I watched it and I was like, oh, that's my jam. Yep, I like that. Yep. And I was smiling, a little creeped out, but smiling. Without kind of spoiling the thrust of where it goes, where did that idea start to come from? Where did that start to germinate from?
I want to say thank you again. That kind of feedback means so much. It does. I love it. I love hearing that. It excites me because
You're welcome.
That's what you hope for, right? When you're writing something, you visualize it in your head, and I have another. Sorry, she's like an ocean liner.
Special guest appearance.
Yeah, Bella Ciao, ladies and gentlemen. She's we adopted her about a year ago, and she runs the place. She's one of 3, by the way, so you might see another one at any given point.
Boom.
Any filmmaker will tell you there's the film you write and there's the film you make.
Right.
And when it's low budget, especially, those are 2 very different things, because it's all about problem solving, right? You run into, like you said, you run into things. I mean, look at Jaws, for example. The mechanical shark broke down. Completely different movie than what was probably on the script, but look what happened, cult classic. And it's I don't know how that went. Gosh, oh my God, Stephen, tell me the question again. My Bella Ciao zapped my brain.
Zapped your brain. I'm just kind of interested, what sort of sparked that idea for Earworm?
Sparked that idea, right. Oh God, it came to me in the shower. I know that's stupid and cliche, but it's true. It did. Sometimes these little, and so did Tea Time, before you get to that one, I might as well say that. Not all my movies do, but my movies kind of come from 2 different places. One, when I'm dreaming, I dream a lot of my ideas. I wake up and I frantically write it down, and I'll go back to sleep and I'll wake up the next day and read my notes and go, what? Or sometimes I'll go, well, that's a great idea, and I'll turn it into something bigger. But sometimes when it comes to these smaller things, it's just a stupid thought. I don't know why all my big thinking comes in the shower. It just does. That's that space where you're under the water and you're just, I don't know. That's just me. But some people sing in the shower. I come up with movie ideas.
Well, then you know what? Then what we need to start doing is like throwing budget at you for that and say like, there you go, boom.
Well, you know what earworm means, right?
No, absolutely.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people don't, because I thought when I came up with the idea, everyone knows what an earworm means, but I've met a few people who thought it means a literal worm of sorts. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be funny to make a movie where it kind of is both those things? And so, yeah, it's a play on words. And it's funny because a lot of people who saw it didn't get it. Fortunately, most of them still like the movie. But I'll tell you, I had one reviewer, this will crack you up. The only bad review it got pretty good reviews. One bad review. And when I read it, it was so obvious he didn't know what an earworm was. And I thought, man, what a bummer. Like, it's totally lost on this dude. He just didn't know what an earworm was. And the movie went over his head or something. But
okay.
Anyway,
so
it's not as common.
I want to stop you there for a second.
Yeah.
Bad reviewer, you suck. Get lost.
I don't get mad. You got to take it, you take it with a grain of salt, whatever. It's what I make isn't for everyone. That's fine. I don't like every movie.
You know what? And you know what? Bless you, because that's exactly, you know what? You can't please all the people all the time.
No, you can't. Again, he bad reviewer. An earworm is when a song gets stuck in your head. That's an earworm. That's actually what I wanted to tell him, but I didn't. I'm not going to go contacting random reviewers and like chiding them for, hey, who the hell does that?
Now, Tea Time, that's really, like, in so many ways, it's so much darker than Earworm, even though it's, oh yeah, like really, when you start bringing kids into the like, I was like, wow, man, this is
child services gets called.
I gotta get a sense of what the I'd love to get a sense of what the initial jumping off point for that was. Because I'm the same way. When I create, I get that one little idea and then I'm like, oh, and then like most people, it builds and builds and builds. What was the jumping off point for Tea Time?
I wanted to do something about a child's imagination. And I was, you also kind of think about what you have access to. And the reality is when you're low budget, when you don't have a lot of money and you're trying to write scripts that you know you can make, and it's not going to take you forever to try to raise a budget, because I haven't done any what is it, you know, fundraising stuff like big social media campaigns. I haven't done any of that stuff. I've raised all the funds privately for my stuff, but it's low amounts. Tea Time cost $6,000 to make. And so when I'm thinking about, okay, what can I probably raise relatively easily ish? What can I get access to? What can I do maybe in one location? Some actor friends I know, you know, you have to work within these perimeters. It's difficult. It can be tricky, but it makes you really have to think outside the box. We're working within these restrictions, these unfortunate restrictions. What can I do that's going to be unusual, a little outside the box maybe, or a little unorthodox, just, and can be fun ultimately. I mean, in every single thing you do, it's, you know, problems are going to come up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I had this idea. And again, the movie was very different than when I wrote. I actually wrote it for a little girl who was a little older, wound up casting younger, which was insane, but ultimately funnier, I think. But it just kind of happened naturally. It's how I found her and everything. And she kind of found me, really, is how it happened.
So I got to ask you, like, you know, so we've gone to both. I love both those films. What's next? Like, do you have some? Obviously, you can only say so much, and I get that. But what can you tell us about where you're heading next in your career? What's coming next down the pipe?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer. It's a weird time right now.
Yeah.
You know, I've got another short that I've been wanting to make for over a year. I actually wanted to make it before Tea Time, but it was coming together and it fell apart. So I scrapped it, made Tea Time instead. But it's called Pathos. It's going to require a bigger budget, more locations. It's just going to require a bigger undertaking. Okay. And it can't be done right now. It just can't be done right now with COVID. And, you know, I would rather err on the side of caution. And I don't really think it's worth putting people at risk just to make a movie. And that's my personal opinion. It's not something I'm willing to do. I still have it though. It's something I'm going to make in the future. Also, obviously a feature. I want to do that. You know, it comes down to money. It's tough. I'd be making movies all the damn time if it was easier to raise money. Yeah, I'm sure everyone you interview tells you this, but it's true. We all want to make movies. That's the hardest part is getting that initial financial aspect of it all. Right now, to pass the time, I've been writing short stories because people can still read. You know, it's a lot easier to write a short story, maybe put it out there. It's an avenue I've never explored before, so it's kind of fun to look into. You know, it's like a whole different world that I've never been involved in, like magazines that publish short stories and things like that. And I'm trying to pursue that at the moment. It's interesting. So it's kind of a boring answer, but it's the pandemic reality we're in right now.
No, it's not boring at all, because like you say, it's forced. This is our reality right now. Like, it's, you know, it's not easy for anybody, right? And more so, I would say on a career level, artists than anyone have suffered, and that sucks. And speaking of which, I do have one final question for you, and this is the question I always lead up to in these interviews. You're a very talented and very successful lady. What advice can you impart from your personal journey and your personal experience to any young women that will be watching this interview and thinking they want to start that journey into the filmmaking business, be it as an actor, be it as a director, writer, whatever? What do you say to them, Tara?
Just do it. Just do it. Don't let anyone tell you can't. And don't let obstacles get you down, because everyone has obstacles. And sometimes they're going to seem massive. On the second short film that I wrote and produced, I ran into serious obstacles. And that's actually why I didn't pursue the next film that I was going to put myself in, and decided to, I mean, ultimately it made me pivot in a different direction, which is wonderful, silver lining and all. And that's just it. If you can turn those obstacles into a way to pivot and just redirect and go, okay, well, how can I spin this into something cool and not let this get me down? It's because shit's gonna happen, man. It's always gonna happen. And you're always gonna have people telling you maybe you can't do something or don't. I got some cat drama going on over here. Good Lord, you guys. Really? I'm glad I'm on these and you can't pick it up. There's a hissing going on. I feel like a crazy cat lady in this interview. Here's my advice for filmmakers. When doing an interview, put your cats in another room so you don't look unprofessional. That's my advice.
Or be like me and barricade the door so you don't get the Night of the Living Dead scratches on the door. They're trying to get in, right?
God. So. It's like a requirement on Zoom calls, right? That the animals have to make a cameo. They're going at it right now. Oh, God. This is ridiculous.
Well, why don't we just turn the camera around and we'll movie, right?
One of them's really big. But, well, getting back to that, really, the short of it is just make your damn movie. If you have an idea, don't sit around and wait for someone else to make your idea. Make it. Just make it. And if you don't know what you're doing, that's okay, because no one knows what the fuck they're doing the first time they do it. I didn't. Right. Surround yourself with people who do know what they're doing. And just, it might take some work, and you're going to have people say, no, I don't want to do that, because no one's going to care about your project as much as you, but you will eventually find people who will help you out. And you're gonna work with people that you wind up not liking or you have a bad experience with, but you're also gonna work with people you love, and you'll work with those people again and cast the others aside and move on. You're gonna find out what works for you, what chemistry is best. But the end of the day, don't let bad experiences put a stop to it. Just do it. Just don't let anything hold you back. Don't let anyone tell you can't do it. Because I didn't go to film school. I just did it.
Awesome. Tara Price, you have been an absolute joy. Please come back anytime. Thank you for spending this time this evening with us. It's really appreciated. And for anyone that's listening to this, watching this, we will be dropping, by the time you're watching, you're going to see the links to the trailers. They're going to be in here. The wonder of recorded videos, pre-recorded videos. And make sure you keep an eye on Tara's work moving forward. I will be watching very closely. Okay?
Thank you very much. This was fun. Cat drama aside, this was fun. Thank you, Stephen.
Take care, Tara. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm gonna settle the score. You won't get lonely, though you are my one and only. You think just like 1,000 times before.
Hi, pray to get lost. Bunny, you didn't drink any of your tea. I am nervous. You should be.